But wait, there's more. The day after I recorded all that, the finals dropped yet another patch, and like the notes say, this is a big one. This is multiple pages covering a variety of topics. I think this just goes along with what we've already been saying. Big deal to have this many fixes and adjustments coming in just a 2-week beta. But let's get into this one. Starting with fixes and updates. Cash out mode added a visual effect for coins being lost from cash boxes as their value reduces over time in the last 2 minutes of the round. That's saying that any cash boxes free from vaults supposedly are gonna lose their value in the last 2 minutes of the round. Maybe this wasn't being shown before, wasn't something I realized was happening. Updated HUD widgets to show accurate value of cash boxes during the last 2 minutes of the round. I think this is saying that the in-between moments when you see cash boxes pop up, when they get pinged, those values on those cash boxes will accurately show that fall off in the last 2 minutes. Movement fixed an issue where players could get ice skating, quote unquote, movement as a result of bad goo spawns. That's a whole sentence. Made improvements to jump, fall, and landing animations. Made improvements to medium body type, vault, and ledge grab animations. Added speed clamping to some moves to prevent exploits where players could boost across large distances very quickly. I don't know if this was connected to the evasive move of the light character or some other glitch, but sure, the exploits are out there. They've already happened. Looking at you, knife users. But it's nice to see that this is just another thing that they're addressing. Things like a lot of the other stuff, until your game gets in the wild, you can't necessarily see these kind of exploits. You know, you can have your team and your QA look at it as closely as they can and try all the different things they can come up with, but you know it's completely different once it's in the hands of the gaming community at large, we'll say. Added air friction and drag to prevent players traveling faster than intended over long distances when airborne, and fix an issue where players could fly by repeatedly vaulting on liftable props. That sounds hilarious, and if you have a video of that, please share it.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells.
A scoreboard, squad names added. That's a small thing. I forget which symbol's which, and half the time, since your team changes every round, unless of course you're in a tournament, I guess. But since your team name changes all the time, that's helpful. I forget what team I'm on, and you just hear the announcer saying stuff, and you're like, I don't know if I'm Kingfish or what this match. So that's useful. Elimination icon now show when a player is eliminated. Oh, I'm not actually sure if that's referencing when you eliminate somebody. Was there not an icon before? Local player is now highlighted. That's under scoreboard, so I'm not sure what that's referencing either. Maybe if you're squatted up with somebody. Customization fixed an issue where pants would clip with the cowboy boots. Thank you, Embark. Thank you. And maybe this fixed that, but you could only use them with certain pants. Like you couldn't use them with pants that fit over the cowboy boot, only tighter pants that fit inside. Embark, I'm telling you, reach out to Iron Galaxy. They had the whole clipping, multiple different outfits. Maybe they'll sell you. I think they maybe could use a couple extra bucks. Yeah, the cowboy boot lovers rejoice. Moving on to the UI, fix an issue where multiple slots in the loadout could have the same item. There must have been a way where you could, when you go in your loadout and you have reserve, if you grab an item that is in your reserve, it swaps it. This must have been an instance where you could just have like 3 grenades, maybe? Fixed new offers timer so it updates in real time in the store. Added an active state to buttons on the contract settings screen. These are all the UI stuff is really quality of life stuff that you probably won't notice until maybe you notice it now. Because you're like, oh, that's so much easier to see. It's a lot of quality of life stuff.
Store purchase notification now closes automatically when purchase is complete. Unlock notification now closes automatically when unlocks are completed on the battle pass screen. Fix an issue where the fire effect would linger on the spectator camera after elimination. Added a contract summary to the end of round.
I actually like this one. Added a contract summary to the end of round flow. So it goes through all the contracts you completed, but I think this is going to list them now instead of just displaying them and then saying, hey, you got 7,000 XP because you completed a lot of stuff. It's nice to see like which ones you actually did. I wish they would fix the evasive dash 3 times before touching the ground, because I've done that a lot of times in Bark. I don't got my XP. Fixed an issue where the round over screen would sometimes show the wrong result, kind of an issue. Fixed various issues relating to the feedback survey screens. I did notice I accidentally hit Q on the menu the other day and there was a broken link for the survey, so maybe they fixed that. I just realized I hadn't done the survey for the beta before. They asked me a few times during the alpha. Another huge one, like I said, I don't think I had issues with this before they updated it last time, but they have made picking up revive statues even more reliable. Play the game, you tap E, and it'll pick up somebody's statue so that you can move it to a hopefully safer place to revive, and then you hold down the key to then revive. So I think people were having trouble where they were entering that revive state a little too soon. I guess they've just improved that multiple times now. Moving on to spectator mode, fixed an issue where the spectator player's loadouts didn't show correctly. This I didn't realize about spectator mode, maybe that you can specifically spectate certain people, especially not on your team. But as soon as you, if you're team wiped, you go into free cam and then you can move around. And the camera in this game is so smooth. I can't wait to see like a private lobby or put together event for this game, because I think it's the potential there for it to look almost as good as all of the trailers do it's just insane. The smoothness of the camera and the ability to see the action is gonna be good. I mean, it already is good. Just play around with it next time your team wiped, unless you're that much better than me. Next up, levels. Fixed an issue where players couldn't shoot through fences or railings. Again, I haven't had problems with fences or railings. I don't know if this means shoot through as in they get destroyed, or if you're supposed to be able to shoot through those kinds of hard objects. Either way, fixed the issue. Updated the trajectories of some pre-placed jump pads on Soul. If you've realized the jump pads on corners of various buildings on Soul to help you get around, I don't know if maybe there were some odd trajectories after you hit some of those. Next up, we have audio. Updated hit sound with more coins to help it penetrate the audio mix more gracefully. I think the sound team wrote this part of the updates. They are very we love sound. Lowered hit sound to reasonable loudness level to avoid it sticking out too much at lower game audio volume levels. Slightly increased hit sound ducking to carve more space for it in the mix. And fixed an issue where the low health sound would continue playing during the end of round screens. Haven't had that one, but that would probably be about as annoying as the old death sound. All that's saying there is that that's in relation to the hit sound being more prominent, so that even without necessarily seeing the marker, you're getting that audio cue that, yes, you did get. I actually originally thought it was like elim sound. I guess there's a similar coin sound just with hits. Useful improvement. Next up, controls. Fixed an issue preventing the binding of mouse buttons such as mouse 4 and 5. Let's go! I had to add an entire new profile to my gaming mouse, my Logitech gaming mouse, so that I could slide with the mouse button. Glad they fixed that. Fixed an issue that prevented the unbinding of duplicate buttons. Update to graphic settings. Made various changes to improve the visual quality of low and medium graphic settings, so those high graphic settings users already got their update, so now we're helping everybody else out. Lastly, under fixes and updates is destruction. Fixed an issue where props and objectives would float in the air after destruction. I'm just picturing somebody taking out the bottom level of a building and all the tables and chairs just floating in the air. Next up, more balance adjustments, starting with weapons. We have that M32 grenade launcher. That's the heavy character's grenade launcher. Increased round fuse time to 2.5 seconds from 1.2 seconds. Rounds will now detonate on impact after 1 bounce, and reduced explosion inner radius to 1.5 from 2 meters. So this is a bit of a nerf to the M32 grenade launcher, the heavy grenade launcher. Fuse time going to take longer to explode. You will get that detonation after 1 bounce, and the explosion radius being about a half meter smaller from what it originally was. This doesn't seem like a huge nerf. I haven't used the grenade launcher with the heavy that much, but this seems more like, I don't know, maybe too many heavies were blasting themselves with these things. So maybe this kind of evens that out. It doesn't necessarily affect any of the damage, it's just seems more of the fire rate and the effective rate. Next up is the pump action grenade launcher. That's the medium character's grenade launcher. They have actually increased the max damage to 84 from 80 and increased the minimum damage to 45 from 30. So I didn't feel like this was a gun that needed a buff, but this is interesting. If you've gone up against the pump action grenade launcher, it makes things super hectic. There's a lot going on when those things are going off. They're super fast. So this will be interesting. Maybe this is to see if more people use it then. I feel like I've run into it a fair bit. I haven't played with it a lot. Maybe this helps it at range, since there's obviously the max damage increasing by 4 isn't huge, but the minimum damage going up to 45 from 30, that's a pretty big buff. Next up is the .306 sniper. Fixed an issue where bullet dispersion could occur when aiming down the sights. I think this has to do with the no-scoped bullet properties being applied even when they're aiming down sights. So this is good. You want your snipers to be as accurate as possible when you're looking down the scope. Next up is flamethrower. Reduce the intensity of visual effects when fired directly at the player. I don't know which side this is on, but either side, the flamethrower, kind of like the explosions from the pump action grenade launcher, it's crazy. It's hectic. If you're getting hit with those things in the face, you can barely see anything that's going on. That's definitely one of the visual things I'm glad that they addressed. The other one is the sonar from the sonar addressed, so I can actually see the players that I've tagged. Next up are gadgets, starting off with the APS turret. Reduce the APS turret radius to 3 meters from 5 meters. I haven't used the APS turret a lot, but that's the one that catches throwables like grenades, etc., and kind of diffuses them, if you will. So it's just a bit of a nerf to that. You have dome shield. Fixed an issue where the dome shield wouldn't block bullets from turrets. Very important. Then zip lines. Fixed an issue where players could exploit the zip line to perform larger than intended jumps. I haven't seen this one, but I don't know if it refers to the zip line being able to go farther than intended, or using the zip line in a way that you launched off the end to go higher and or farther than intended. Either way, it's fixed.
What the heck?
Oh, look at me! Look at me! Look at me! What the f—
Goo grenade. Fixed an issue where goo could be attached to objects that were attached to cash out stations, causing them to move. I'm very curious about which objects were being attached here, but I guess we won't find out anymore. Explosive mine. Fixed an issue that caused mines not to detonate. I swear this has been happening to my mines because they just have not been going off. And I found it hard to shoot other teams' mines. Kind of an issue if you need to get around them. So glad that's been fixed. And lastly, we have abilities. The turret. Reduced turret health to 300 from 350. Reduced turret damage to 5 from 7. I don't know if that's each bullet does 5 instead of 7. I'm not sure what the damage refers to, but overall nerf for the turret. I think it's good to see it have a little less health. These things, I think we all knew there was a nerf impending at some point in the future of this game for the turrets. They're just very, very strong. It's so strong that it's hard to justify using any of the other abilities if you're a medium character, unless you're gonna run healer, which is something I'll talk about in my builds video. Then we have the mesh shield. Fixed an issue where mesh shield wouldn't block bullets from turrets. This seemed like something inherent in the dome shield and mesh shield properties, as they seem like maybe they're coded similarly, so those both got fixed. The charge and slam. Fixed an issue where the ability animation would stutter. Every time I use the charge slam, there's a lot going on, so if it stuttered, I didn't catch it. And lastly, the goo gun. Fixed an issue where goo could be attached to objects that were attached to cash out stations, causing them to move. So that was, again, an issue that was inherent across the goo in general. I'm just picturing a long wall of goo being connected from a table to a cash out station and somebody just carrying this giant. I hope that's what it looked like. I'm kind of upset that I missed all these potentially insanely silly looking things that were happening in this game. But if you did, drop the link to the video. I definitely want to see. Now that covers all the updates and adjustments to the finals beta. How do you feel about all of these? This was a huge update. I didn't expect something this big to be dropped all at once. Like last week they did one a day. I don't know if they were burning the midnight oil over the weekend, or this is just what they were working on after they had finalized the stuff from last week. But pretty crazy to start off the week with this big of an update. Everything sounds good. I don't know if there's something going on with the knife or the cloaking. Maybe that's a footstep thing. Maybe there's other stuff going on there. Being able to change your specialization before a match seems like a no-brainer, but you can, make a separate build with that specialization. It just seems to defeat the purpose of having a reserve and some other stuff. The other builds seem like it should be for different costumes or what have you, but it's a way to get around that. Anything else you'd like to see them change, maybe before the beta is even done? So they dropped this with a week left in the beta, and we have a weekend coming up. They're supposed to be, allowing more players in throughout the entire beta. Will we see maybe another big update before the weekend? But until then, let me know what else you would like to see them do and how you feel about all these changes so far. I think Embark is doing a great job, and I just want to see it continue. I'll get those build videos up for the light, medium, and heavy characters in the next couple of days. I've got a couple options for each that I think should cover just about every kind of playstyle. But until then, I'll see you in round 3.
There's a target on everyone's back now. Contestants will uneven move. They eliminate.
The live wires will need to reboot. Team White.
Oh, oh, yeah, we're good. Oh, we're at a cash out. Oh, okay. Yeah. Good timing. GG's. Yeah, I kind of like the pistol. I mean, it's useless at range like anything else that's not made for it, but...